Hello grade 12s and welcome back to the Junior Tiki online teaching platform. I'm Similo Sienga and I'll be your instructor for this video. In this section, we'll be titrating sodium hydroxide with hydrochloric acid. Let's get started. Here's what we will need for this experiment. Phenolphthalein as our indicator, a funnel, sodium hydroxide, hydrochloric acid, our burette and its clamp, and a conical flask. Let's get started with experimental procedure. So essentially for this experiment, what we're going to do first is essentially wash our burette or prepare our burette with our titrant. We're going to put our funnel all the way up there, have the stopper closed for now, then pour some of the titrant into the burette. You can pour as much as you'd like. Then let's put that aside for now. Essentially now what you're going to do is tap the sides just a little bit to get the air bubbles out. Then on your waste dish, you're going to let up some of the titrant. There we go. Once you've done that, you will essentially now then take the first reading of the burette. Now we can move our waste dish aside. We've already measured out about 25 milliliters of sodium hydroxide into this conical flask. We then mixed it with a few drops of phenolphthalein, which is our indicator. What is then supposed to happen is that as we let out some of the acid into the analyte, we should get a color change towards the purple/pink-ish color scale. Essentially, as soon as you shake the can or the conical flask, the color change should disappear. Once the color change essentially persists and the solution is purple/pink, then you know the reaction is complete. Let's get then started. We then take the reading of the burette as we start, then we let out some of the titrant. There we go. Essentially now we've got a pinkish, purplish color, and that is the end point of our experiment. I've already done this a couple of times to essentially get exactly how much we essentially need to complete the reaction, which then gives us a much more accurate reading. Let's now analyze the results based on how much titrant we used for this reaction. The titration reaction equation is as follows. We essentially combined hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide to get sodium chloride and water. We started off with a concentration of hydrochloric acid as 0.2 moles per decimeters cubed. Essentially, the amount of volume that we then used to neutralize this reaction is now read off from the burette. We had an initial reading of 3.5 milliliters. Then the final reading was 16 milliliters. This means that we made use of 12.5 milliliters of hydrochloric acid, which is also then equivalent to 0.0125 decimeters cubed. We then now need to determine the concentration of sodium hydroxide through the concentration of hydrochloric acid and the respective volumes. The formula that we will then use is N is equal to C multiplied by V. The number of moles of the acid will be equal to the concentration of the acid multiplied by the volume. Then now we take a mole to mole ratio equation. Basically, the number of moles of the acid will be equal to the number of moles of the base. We then substitute all the values that we previously calculated into these formulas. Then we get that the concentration of sodium hydroxide is 0.1 moles per decimeters cubed. We have now titrated sodium hydroxide with hydrochloric acid. I will see you in the next video.